Imagine this. It's 2017, and hype for Star Wars is at an all-time high. A brand new movie trilogy is rolling out, Disney is pushing the franchise harder than ever, and EA, with its exclusive license to make Star Wars games, is preparing to release what should have been the ultimate Star Wars experience, Star Wars Battlefront 2. The trailers promised everything fans have been waiting for since the 2015 reboot. A full single-player campaign with an original story, massive multiplayer battles across every era, heroes and villains like Darth Maul, Rey, Yoda, and Kylo Ren, and cinematic space battles that felt straight out of the movies. On paper, this was the definitive Star Wars game, a dream come true. But what actually happened to Battlefront 2 is a story of ambition colliding with corporate greed, of a backlash so intense it changed the entire gaming industry, and of a redemption arc that still wasn't enough to save it. So what happened? Why did one of the most anticipated games of all time lose its momentum in the crossfire? This is Ben, and today we're getting into what really happened to Battlefront 2. Remember to like and subscribe, especially like so that this video can get watched by more, by the way. And let's get into it. When Battlefront 2 was first released, players were cautiously optimistic. The 2015 game looked beautiful, but it was shallow, missing a campaign, lacking Clone Wars content, and hiding most of its maps behind expensive DLCs. EA promised to do things differently this time. No season pass, free content updates, and a more complete package. Fans wanted to believe, but underneath EA had a very different plan. At launch, the game was stuffed with microtransactions and loot boxes. Almost every part of progression, unlocking heroes, upgrading abilities, and even basic stat boosts was tied to randomized card packs. These weren't just cosmetics, they gave real gameplay advantages. If you were lucky, or if you paid real money, you could become much stronger than other players. It was, in every sense, pay to win. To make things worse, unlocking iconic heroes like Darth Vader or Luke Skywalker required absurd amounts of grinding, about 40 hours each, unless you opened up your wallet, of course. The frustration was immediate, and the backlash was brutal. The controversy exploded online, most famously on Reddit, where EA tried to defend the grind by saying it gave players a sense of pride and accomplishment. That single comment became the most downvoted Reddit post in history, with over 600,000 downvotes. The scandal grew so large that it spilled outside the gaming community. Major news outlets covered it, politicians weighed in, governments started investigating loot boxes, comparing them to actual gambling. What should have been a Star Wars celebration had turned into one of gaming's biggest disasters. The outrage forced EA to act. Just days before launch, they shut down all microtransactions, promising to rework their system, but the damage was already done. Reviews criticized the game, fans boycotted it, and Disney itself reportedly pressured EA to clean up the mess before it hurt the Star Wars brand. Battlefront 2 single-handedly went from one of the most anticipated releases of the decade to one of the most hated launches in gaming history. And yet, something unexpected happened. Over the next 2 years, DICE, the studio behind the game, worked relentlessly to repair the damage. They overhauled progression entirely, making unlocks skill-based instead of luck-based. They released free content updates, adding Clone Wars maps, new heroes like Obi-Wan, Anakin, Dooku, and Grievous, and epic battles on Geonosis and Scarif. Piece by piece, Battlefront 2 grew into what it should have been from the start, an authentic, content-rich Star Wars playground. Slowly, the community started returning. Players praised DICE for sticking with the game. Streamers started covering it again too. By 2019 and 2020, many fans believed Battlefront 2 had redeemed itself and had become one of the best Star Wars games ever made. But just as things were looking up, EA pulled the plug. In April 2020, they announced that Battlefront 2 would no longer receive major updates to the game. One final patch brought Scarif from Rogue One into the game, and that was it. Development ended, and the team shifted to the next Battlefield project. For fans, it was bittersweet. Millions of new players had just joined after the game was given away for free on the Epic Game Store. Servers were packed, the game was thriving, and its reputation had finally turned around, yet the future was gone. Fans dreamed of Mandalorian content, new Clone Wars maps, or even sequel-era expansions, but none of it would happen. So the legacy of Battlefront 2 is complicated. On one hand, it stands as a hard tale. Its disastrous launch showed the dangers of aggressive monetization and proved that players could push back against corporate greed. It even helped spark worldwide conversations about loot boxes and gambling mechanics in video games. On the other hand, it's also a redemption story. Through years of updates, the game transformed into a brilliant and beloved Star Wars experience, but its sudden end leaves a bittersweet aftertaste. It had finally become what the fans wanted all along, only to be abandoned. And that's what makes Battlefront 2 so fascinating. It's a story of both failure and success, a game that started out as one of the most hated of its generation, but ended as a fan favorite. In fact, Battlefront 2 was so beloved and remembered that on May 4th of 2025 this year, there was a major spike in players, all because they wanted to celebrate the day of Star Wars with each other. On this day, the game had an 88% discount, making it the lowest it has ever been, and 100,000 players were playing across all platforms at the exact same time.
Party, bro.
Hell yeah.
Fireworks! 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 Yeah!
Guys, we haven't won just yet.
The clones are like, dude, what's happening? What's happening?
What is that noise?
But slowly, the charts began to die down after this, all because no updates could keep these players entertained. Overall, what did we learn? In the end, Battlefront 2 is remembered not just for its mistakes, but for the lessons it forced the industry to learn. No amount of flashy trailers, no amount of nostalgia, and no amount of corporate spin can make up for forgetting what players really want. A game that respects their time and passion. And maybe, just maybe, the legacy of Battlefront 2 will make future Star Wars games, and future games in general, think twice before repeating the same greedy mistakes EA always have made. This is the end of the video. Remember to like and subscribe, and maybe even comment. And of course, I will see you guys next time. See ya! Luces bajas, nadie fala. Tus ojos gritan lo que tu boca cala. Silencio tan